Thanks for joining us today. We'll have people and their dogs coming and going this whole time, which is part of the awesomeness of this place. These foothill trails are our city's most beautiful and admired place for residents and visitors. I think it's our proximity to them and our access to them that is part of what makes this capital city so spectacular compared to any other capital city in this country. They hold a lot of meaning for our community today, and some areas in our foothill trail system are sacred to the indigenous peoples who stewarded them for centuries. As our population has grown and continues to grow as the fastest growing state in this nation, more and more people gravitate to the foothills to have a great time, to exercise for mental health, for their pets' health, and connection to these beautiful outdoors. And with that increase in traffic here and attention came the use and the need for us to create more space for managed recreation while also working to preserve the ecology of these treasured lands that we are standing on. But as this work got underway, we heard from residents who were concerned about the new trail construction. So back in May, we put a pause on the new construction work. In the months that have followed that pause, my administration's been conversing with many people, our valued stakeholders that are our residents, both nearby here and across the city, who use these foothill trails. And we've been trying to gain a better understanding of the issues that were related to the first phase of trail construction and to collaborate really on how do we make the best possible pathway forward. This time of the pause has included taking resident comments and building relationships for the first time with tribal leaders. We've been coming together with the Parks, Natural Lands, Urban Forestry, and Trails Board, affectionately known as Peanut. Thank you to those Peanut Board members who are here today. And advocacy groups like Save Our Canyons and Save Our Foothills. Ultimately, the city's role has been to listen. The outcomes of these cooperative efforts are really encouraging, and they've been very productive. And in that vein, I'm pleased to announce today that Salt Lake City will continue its pause of new trail construction until at least June 1st of 2022 at the earliest. And our goal there is, and this pause is in order to put the environment first and work with environmental consultants to continue our collaborative work with our valued stakeholders, to incorporate that feedback of the groups and our residents into guidance documents to move forward and integrate consultant recommendations that can refine the plan's construction procedures. This plan, or rather this pause, will also involve close monitoring of the conditions of all of the new trails that have so far been created, and will still include our stewardship events for regular season trail cleanups, that volunteer effort that typically does happen. As a city, I believe that today, with the conversations we've started, that a pathway forward that is more collaborative and communicative is possible for us. We're already on that pathway. And we're in the best possible position to ensure that the trails and new trail work and natural resource protection is representative in a better way of the voices of our community. Our goal through the process has been to get our trail system to a sustainable place so that it can be stewarded for generations to come. I want to thank the members of the Peanut Board. Some of you are here today for your investment and your continued volunteer, heartfelt work to improve our trail system with us. Thank you to Carl Fisher, who's with me here today. He's the Executive Director of Save Our Canyons. Thanks for your time and your guidance and your honest conversations with me and our team. That's really helping us bring a more shared vision of the pathway forward. We're going to continue to work together, hard conversations and fun conversations. And to Save Our Foothills, thank you for organizing and for your input and your advocacy as we're aiming right now to balance trails that serve all of our residents with habitat conservation. And to the team in our Public Lands Department, thank you for your work to make our trails an accessible, welcoming place for users and for your commitment to the work ahead that we're still charting. And I want to also thank our Indigenous tribal leaders. Thank you for the time that we've spent together in these foothills. Their historical accounts and input on this land is invaluable. And it's a key to our shared future collaboration in these very spaces. We're looking forward to continuing to build our relationship with you as tribal leaders and working together on the most meaningful ways that we can to honor Indigenous people tied to this land. Next, we'll hear from our Trails Project Specialist, Tyler Fonarow, who will provide more specifics about the work ahead over the next year, followed by Carl Fisher from Save Our Canyons. And I can only speak for myself, but I'd be happy to take questions after, and these gentlemen might also be willing to. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, I am Tyler Fonarow, and I work for the Department of Public Lands as the Trail Project Specialist in the Foothills Natural Area. The city will be engaging with 3 separate consultants based on their specific areas of expertise to evaluate the work that has been completed to date and refine practices for future trail construction and communication. The city will continue to work with SWCA environmental consultants to analyze the areas of the Foothills Natural Area where trail construction could occur and maximize its conservation. This will include an analysis of the impact of trails on vegetation and wildlife habitats, as well as an analysis of cultural resources and strategies for their conservation, acknowledgement, and culturally responsive management. The city will be releasing a request for qualifications for a second consultant, an independent trail system and land conservation consultant. This firm will review the work completed in 2020 and 2021 and review the trail design construction methods and best practices. They will assess any areas of concern in the existing trail network and in new trail construction. They will review pre-existing user-created trails on an individual basis on how best to integrate them or discourage their use. They will develop trail maintenance protocols for the Foothills Trail System and the unique environment that is our Foothills Natural Area. And lastly, they will develop guidelines for Salt Lake City that we can adopt to evolving user patterns, trail conditions, increasing trail use, and emerging recreation trends. Once input is received from these first 2 consultants, the city will work with a communications and planning consultant to compile stakeholder and public feedback into guidance documents that will supplement the Foothills Trail System Plan and improve and refine plan implementation going forward. Next, we will have Carl Fisher from Save Our Canyons.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mayor Mendenhall and Tyler for your words and including us and really listening to people about their concerns about the foothills in Salt Lake City. The Wasatch Mountains, our foothills, our canyons, they have been for a very long time a gathering place before we all came to this valley. We continue to gather in these open spaces, in these mountains, in these canyons, and share this gathering place with wild creatures, from elk to deer to mountain lions to hawks and eagles that we share these places with. And while we're making a lot more people and bringing many more people into our gathering spaces with population growth, we need to keep a keen eye towards protecting these resources. It has been said over and over and over again, it seems, but we really are loving these places to death. And we want to maintain a high quality experience, a high quality environment, and high quality and high ethic of stewardship for these places. And we're just so appreciative that Mayor Mendenhall and her administration have called pause to try and prioritize some of these issues. They're important. These areas, if they're not protected, they will be lost. We've seen so many special places lost over the years, and there's so many wonderful places in these foothills. I remember I grew up not in Salt Lake, dirty secret, but grew up over in Davis County. When I went to the University of Utah and I worked downtown, I used to bike up over this area from Bountiful and commute over the radio towers and jump on the Bonneville Shoreline Trail and work downtown at a hotel. And they were just great memories. And we have an amazing place. We have amazing opportunities, and we need to be just wonderful stewards of this place for generations to come. And I think the plan that the mayor and the city have sketched out will help get us there. And we're eager to dig in and do some of the work with the city to help protect and steward this place. So thank you so much, Mayor.
Any questions?
What do you think the role of the peanut board should be moving forward? Do you see that changing?
Well, I know that the peanut board, along with Kristen Riker and other parts of our staff, have been evaluating what their role is as of today. And if they make recommendations formally, then we can analyze that, and as an administration and a city council, if there are changes that they'd like to make. Those haven't been submitted formally to me yet, so if they're in process, I'll look forward to seeing that. But that's ultimately a decision by the executive branch, and in some regards and other ways, some things are set in ordinance, and so the council could decide.
There's been a lot of discussion, especially in the city council meetings for the last couple of months, regarding, I guess, the quality of Phase 1 trails. Could you speak a little bit about that and how much that will be reviewed in this consulting process?
Yeah, they definitely are reviewed, as Tyler mentioned. That will be one of the consultants we'll bring on board to look at all of the Phase 1 trail work that has happened. In addition to that, I mentioned that we'll still do our trail stewardship volunteer coordination, and then parts of our staff will be using hand tools to improve or try to address some of the slope and erosion issues that have happened with some of the new trails. So that's not part of the pause in terms of monitoring, then formally evaluating, and doing that hand tool work that we invite the public to help us engage in as we normally would on any given year.
And can you, I guess, elaborate a little bit more about the tribal process in this?
Sure. We reached out, really thanks to Gavin Noyce and Carl Fisher helping us make some connections. It's sad to me that Salt Lake City has failed to build really and establish a relationship with tribal leadership throughout the state, in particular the Ute tribes. And so we started this process several months ago, and we invited them to a history-making event, we called it, and spent about a day and a half together in City Hall, out in some of the sites around Salt Lake City. Councilmember Dugan, who's with us today, joined us for those meetings. We broke bread, shared stories, visited places, and they were generous enough to share some of their oral history and tradition related to some of the sites here in the city. It was really not about, making a strategy together, or it was a government-to-government beginning of a relationship that I intend to grow and foster, and I hope, and it's my goal, to build trust and respect with each other, and we had a wonderful beginning of that. So Chairman Chapouche shared that he does not have problems with the trails that we have so far constructed, and that they, as Tribal Council, will be interested in reviewing and engaging the future plans as they're developed when the pause is lifted, rather that they'll engage with us prior to the pause being lifted, January or June 1st next year at the soonest. So I think we're on an incredible new path of engagement there.
Is the budget for trails changing? Are you allocating more funds?
No, we don't have any budget adjustments at this time.
Can I ask Carl a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, as recently as a few weeks ago, you said the city had been pretty unresponsive to your concerns.
Mhm.
So, what changed and when?
I would say things changed in the last week or so when the city reached out and shared some of their plans for going forward. Many of the things that the mayor and Tyler talked about. So, I think a lesson I've learned is that quiet doesn't mean that work's not happening in the background, right? They were really genuinely digging in, I think, trying to understand this. And I think the plan that they put forward again will help us get to that vision that we've been encouraging the city to take with these foothills. So we're optimistic.
Have you been able to get the data and information you were seeking?
No, we haven't gotten any data yet, but I think we have. We'll work to get that stuff from the city still.